All right, cool. B.moore, I appreciate you, my guy.
For sure.
Man, thank you so much for chopping it up with me today. Is one, getting to learn more about you. I know of you, I've been around you, but I'm excited to know you, especially with your mental health advocacy, your art, which I know you're passionate about, and just seeing how that's all connected. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, before we started recording, something that I'm intrigued by are when artists, when they're passionate about what they do, whether it be, in your instance, painting, comedy, that trauma that they release to the world. I mean, that's real stuff. The things that you're painting are real issues that are going on in real life, in your life, in the world. And so we're seeing that. How do you separate that from yourself? Is that the pain and the struggle that you're going to, and you're putting it on canvas and then able to release that? What is that like? What's your process?
Man, I just try to make it I just create authenticity and the feeling and the moment. So there's been times I've been emotional, like in 2020, there's been paintings I've made that was in response to people like us, black folks getting killed by police, that I didn't feel like was appropriate for me to sell for profit, but I needed to get it out. There's those moments where I find myself like dumping just emotionally, and it's just in that moment. And it can be also joy. It's not just trauma. It can also be joy expressed.
Yeah, cause one of my favorite paintings of yours is the Newport joint, and that brings up a happy memory of mine, because the people in my life, you know what I mean. Even though that's not a great habit,
Yeah.
but it brings up that joy. You know what I mean. So it sounds like a lot of stuff you do is not always about the pain, but it feels like there's always something. Is that draining for you mentally? Like, are you able to move? Like, something happens in the world, you paint it, right?
It's like exercise. It's like you exercise for an end result, but
Right.
throughout the process, it's draining.
Right.
But sometimes when you're done exercising, you actually feel like you have more energy after that shower.
Mm-hmm.
And so I have to go through that exercise to get the results. And it's a repetitive exercise because I'm in this journey of mastery of my craft. But I don't plan to ever stop exercising. But sometimes those workouts are harder. Sometimes the results are different. Sometimes you don't see the results. But staying focused and committed to that is part of my craft.
Right. It's not the outcome's not always going to be the same. That's, to me, it feels like that can be something really hard to let go of. Going into a piece or going into whatever, and it didn't even have to be art, but knowing I'm about to put my heart into this, and I know it feels like this isn't going to change anything. It may change one person, but it may not change the way you want it to.
I think luckily I haven't experienced that, because I'm trapped in this delusional state of mind where I'm so focused on what I'm creating and the depth and multiple layers, because a painting is flat. But a painting that has emotion, and has depth, and has layers of narrative, it is deep. It is felt. It isn't just seen. So I feel even if it's not understood now, if I'm making work that's important enough, that in 100 or 200 years, usually past an artist's life, is when sometimes the work is the most noticed.
Right.
And my children are my stewards to be able to continue to amplify the work that I've done, and hopefully the work they do in whatever outlet they do.
Right.
With the grassroots understanding of doing something you love.
Right. How do your children benefit from you being able to be in such a great mental space at times? I mean, as a father, as a Black father, I'm not going to say that every moment is a positive moment, but how have your kids been able to benefit positively mentally because you have this outlet?
Oh, everybody's benefited positively from me getting sober and finding this as a positive outlet and a hobby that ultimately turned into my own enterprising business. but it all leads and begins with doing something I love. So my kids are continuously inspired by seeing daddy do something that he loves. But I'm also giving them the healthiest version of myself. I'm not doing something I hate. I've been able to set up boundaries and structures in full control of protecting my peace. It's inherited to them by me being at a peaceful state. I'm able to respond differently, and they haven't always seen that version of me. Especially my oldest son's probably still remembers both versions. Old, unhappy, depressed dad, and now this new dad.
Right.
All the tattoos and the long hair, and he's all chill now. But still very present, even more present than before.
Right. I think you said something important, man, about the healthiest version of yourself.
Yeah.
And the way there are a lot of people that don't feel like they have an outlet to be able to do something they love. A lot of people out here in jobs angry, right? And then going home and they're taking that out on the kids like, I ain't do none of that work.
Been there.
You know what I mean? And taking it out. If there was somebody you were trying to mentor or talk to or express to them like, hey, that mental state that you're in, I've been there, done that. What would you say to them? What would be a great mental outlet for them?
Well, I can't necessarily say what a mental outlet would be because it varies so much.
Right.
But I think there's a couple of things I would do. If you start to notice patterns of unhealthy behavior, whether that's emotional responses, verbal responses to your children or loved ones after work, if you notice yourself going to happy hour because you had a rough week every week, and you notice these patterns, you might want to start to do what we probably have all learned, which is a root cause analysis, and just try to understand why these things are happening and try to focus on fixing the root, which may be a variety of things. For me, it was, I can't do this job. I need to do something else because my family means that. I mean that much to myself, and my family means that much to me. I need to make sure I'm doing something I absolutely love. Fuck the money.
Right.
That's what I had to do. Forget the money. You want to edit that, but that's what I had to do. I had to literally say, I'm rebuilding. So the foundation was cracked. I kept building. This is why I'm in turmoil. Tear it down, rebuild, do it in concrete and foundation. I understand building something I love. That's not a mansion, but it's a safe one.
Right.
And in theory, doing that it allowed me to be able to understand and see clear. I didn't know painting or art was going to be my thing.
Right.
I had to figure out how to even get clear and get some of the noise knocked out before I could let this stuff flow in.
Right. I think we do a disservice to our children when we grew up in this age where fatherhood meant sacrifice.
Yeah.
And that meant sacrifice your dream. You got these kids, big old work, and you sacrifice because that was the manly thing to do. And then, but you have no outlet for what you really want to do. And I think what I'm hearing from you and what I'm trying to retrain myself to do is if I can't love myself or do something for myself, I don't know if I'll ever be able to love my kids the way they deserve to be loved.
Bars.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And I think for me, my goal with just even having these conversations is there a man out there that is going to a 9-to-5, doing what he feels like he has to do, but he is struggling internally every day?
Man, there's a lot of pressure. I won't really get too deep into a gender conversation, but there's a lot of assumed pressure on certain people in certain roles in households, and the pressure to continue to make more and get promotions and doing something you don't really love anyways. All of that together, it can be a lot of pressure, and it can be overwhelming for someone. So you're right. You don't end up giving your best version of yourself, and we get so trapped into filling gaps that were voids for us as children. So for me, it was, I need to have a good job, My dad always worked a steady job. I need to do better than my dad. I need to have a brand new house because we grew up in the hood. I want to have a brand new car because we always had used cars. I want my kids to have brand new shoes because my dad always said no.
Right.
And I even started to lose myself just in those things I was saying because I, again, was so trapped in image. I wasn't feeding. And so it's like painting over a car that's got rust.
Right.
Keep painting over the car that's got rust. That rust can keep coming through.
Yeah, I low-key done that to my car. I'm not
Yeah, like, so like you keep doing that and doing that.
Yeah.
It's like, yo, like eventually you gotta just address the rust.
The problem's still there, bro.
The problem's still there.
Yeah, absolutely. Walk me through, if you can, in a short time, your process from the moment you have an idea, how it affects you. What's your thought process on how you're going to get that out to the world? What's that like?
So like usually I'll have my creative process is usually like meditating or smoking or, doing my thing in my studio like artists do. And then I start having these random ideas. I have multiple ideas every day and I put them on voice memos or put them in my notebook. But because I have so many ideas every day, I usually go towards the one that feels like, oh, I have to do this. Like it's in my blood. I can't control it like that. The straight jacket I just did with the American flag.
Yeah.
I was on the couch talking with my mom and my girl, and we were talking about mental health. And I think I was talking about Tupac. It's something about one American way that's crazy. And I was like, ooh. I was saying, I wonder if anybody's made an actual straight jacket. So I actually Googled and did research. So a lot of it's research. I spent more time researching biblical, social, and historical facts to layer in my work for the narrative before I even go to paint. And then I have a process of working with Oak Ridge or friends for reference photos to build the image that I want. And then I go to paint. And it isn't exactly in that order every time because I paint different styles. Sometimes it's an emotional, expressive, hinting to paint. But that's my normal process. And then I go and I paint. And then I develop a title based and refine the narrative based on its completion. But the original vision is always the core, and it always stays intact. It may vary a little throughout the process, but where it stays right there.
Bro, as you were talking, that could change somebody's life. This is what I mean by that. I'm not even trying to be overly dramatic.
Yeah.
When somebody, like, if somebody out there, even listening to this or watching this, and they're struggling with something mentally, feeling suicidal, whatever the case may be, I feel like just going through that process alone can help them come up with a structure on how they can get out of it, right? Talking to somebody, so you talk to somebody first, talk to your mom. You have a community in a sense. You have community.
Yeah.
You do your own research. You keep trying to get out of it. Then you get it out through your work, right? And then you come up with a title and you have this new image of something. And I feel like if people were able to, one, find their own community is what I'm starting to get to is and realize is everything I do is nothing if I don't have a community with me.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? And that is the first step for me personally when I'm struggling is I know there are people within my little community that I can go to and just don't have to worry about ego, how I'm looking. Yeah. I could be snot crying, looking ugly crying,
and
ashy, and they'll just listen and be cool. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And I think that is important for people. That's that first step to get it out. That's real.
Yeah, you got to talk about it. You got to get it out. You got to let everything out. If anything builds up too much, it explodes, and that's just science. So you have to get it out, everything. Your bladder, your emotions. And luckily, God made our brains bigger than our hearts because we got to use them. We got to use them to think on and not let this is so important. I'm an empath. Like, we don't use the organ that's bigger than our hearts. This can actually be our own demise too. Because your mind is a powerful tool.
No,
we have a lot more control over it than we think. And we can let the heart sometimes control the mind.
That's for real. Yeah. That's for real. how do we get it? Not to just change subjects completely, but I know you found what you love to do.
Yeah.
Right. And you're in a space where not only you love to do it, but you get paid to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. There are little black boys and girls out there that feel like there are only so many ways they can get out of their situation, and they gotta love basketball or football. They gotta love whatever the overarching community or whoever says that is the way out. What is a word for that little black boy or girl that may right now just be drawing stick figures or whatever the case may be? What do you say to them? Say, hey, there's another way out of here.
Yeah, I say, look at the people that you inspire to be like, whilst keeping yourself, and just love what you do and be that person. Whether it's video games, drawing, music, just making sure that as a dad, I tell my kids this is my biggest, that if I were to die tomorrow, and this is the one thing I want them to know, is to make sure that they do what they love. And if you can't find what you love, then you have to reduce some of the noise. Because I can tell you one thing, and this is also science. If you're not doing something you love, I promise you're doing something you're not. There's no options. So if you are doing something you're not, and you have nothing out of all the things we do that you actually love, then you need to reduce one of those things to at least make room to see if you can find headspace to let that come in. Because God, the universe, the spirits, whatever you want to call it, they're speaking to you on these things. That's why we don't feel like we found our purpose when we're working these things, because there's something inside of us it's already mapped out. Mm-hmm. It's already mapped out, but we can't fight it. We can't let the social constructs or what we were told guide us into that and not follow this. Now we have to use this though, because otherwise we're gonna mess our bag up, mess our money up, potentially our home. So you always have to think with this, but you have to make room in here so then you can start to notice things through your man. Yeah.
I'm not gonna say anything else. That mic drop, bro. b.moore.
Yeah.
Brother, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man.
Important work.
Man, in respect. Thank you so much.